We head to Abuja now, where an election observer, Eniola Cole, joins me now for more. It's good to see you. I would like to begin. Quite a lot has been heard and said over the just concluded presidential and National Assembly elections. What areas do you see us mending things, and whose place is it?
So many areas where we could mend a lot of things. One of the areas is when it relates to ensuring credibility in results transmission. One of the ways that we could amend the situation of mutilated or manipulated election results is introducing something we're considering called undervoting, because we've seen that there is a solution for overvoting, which is when the total votes cast are more than the number of accredited voters. Something called undervoting, where maybe if accredited voters are, say, 30, the number of total votes cast should not be less than something like 29. Because what the law says is there is a space for anyone who gets accredited to vote, but then they walk off with the ballot paper. That only happens in really rare instances. One thing that the Independent National Electoral Commission can do is to ensure that there is an inclusion in their guideline or in their processes that allow for accounting for all ballot papers, and that would be by something called undervoting. So if there are not enough ballots that have been cast to the number of accredited voters, they should be able to cancel the results and request for what happened to those ballot papers. That's one. Another area where there could be improvement is when it comes to deployment of materials and addressing the logistics situation. We believe that from the headquarters, INEC did quite a good job in ensuring that materials got to the state level in time. We kept tracking on the sensitive and non-sensitive materials, but then there was no due diligence done from the state level to ensure that materials were collected and distributed on time down to the RA and to the polling unit level for election day. This still needs to be tidied up, in addition to their budget was quite huge for the 2023 general elections. Maybe procurement of vehicles for the LGA offices to ensure they can collect and sort their materials and deploy them down to the RAs should be considered for subsequent elections. I agree with the last person who spoke, the SAN, who said this does not really affect the outcome of the election so much in terms of the electronic transmission of results. And we would actually blame INEC for over-promising on something that they really don't have 100% control over. Nigeria is not yet a nation where there is telecommunications networks down to the polling unit level. And in their deployment of the BVAS operational strategy, they have stated that there's something called the offline process for the BVAS, so that even from the polling units, when they get to the ward level, they can then do the uploads required at the ward, or when they are able to get the network to do so. So it's more or less like over-promising they could deliver on the polling units, electronic transmission of results, real-time, nationwide, which a lot of people anticipated, but unfortunately that expectation was not met. Nigeria is still a growing democracy, and a lot more could be done to improve the electoral process. But what is of utmost importance now is for every Nigerian not to lose hope. We know definitely some candidates are definitely going to go out with their court cases to the tribunals and ensure that they get, the right mandates out of the courts. But Nigerians, March 11 is still election day. The process has been not without its challenges, but it's not one that should be thrown out altogether. In fact, because of the BVAS, from our own projections and our own perspective, we had observer groups deployed all around the country, and they informed us on all the aspects that could be improved on. Now with the BVAS, we've seen that a lot of places where elections were even rigged, it was not to the high numbers that could have been without the BVAS. So Nigerians should go out, ensure that they're able to cast their ballots, and we look forward to a March 11 that will be more successful than it has been.
And that's just about 9 days away. All eyes on that election and preparations as well. Very important issues you've raised. We'd like to thank you. We know we'll be talking to you from time to time in the run-up to that day. Thanks so much, Eniola Cole, an election observer. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
We go over to more political stories, this time in Maiduguri.